Hello, and welcome to Informatically Speaking, a Greater Delaware Valley ANIA podcast designed to promote knowledge sharing in the field of nursing informatics, locally, nationally, and globally within our unique industry. At GDV ANIA, we are committed to providing opportunities for professional development with the goal of advancing nursing informatics practice. I'm your host, Constance McLaughlin. Welcome to a special series in our informatics podcast journey, where we'll focus on self-help and self-care. Today, we are pleased to welcome Julie Allyson of Coaching and Retreats. And we are so pleased to have you, Julie. I'll just give a little bit of background before we get started. So Julie is actually a nurse. She is a nurse of 29 years, with the bulk of her career in roles related to or directly involved in informatics. She made the leap to Master Certified Life Coach and is focusing on guiding women to determine the direction of their lives. That is one leap of faith, Julie, into a different direction in your career. So welcome. Thank you for coming to the show.
So much. I'm thrilled to be here. Informatics is in my heart.
Well, you're going to have to give us a little bit about your journey and your new adventure into life coaching, and tell us about your framework, and we'll go from there.
I would absolutely love to. So thank you for having me, Constance. So yes, 29 years in nursing. Beginning of my career was acute bedside. I did some hospice when I was young, and that was an absolutely beautiful experience. I learned a lot in those couple of years. And then, like you said, mostly informatics and nursing administration. And forever, I've been the resident mentor for my peers, for my direct reports, for family, friends. And so that's always been something that I've been sought out for. And I love it. And I love helping people to answer their own questions, really. It's not about advice, because what I think someone should do isn't necessarily what they should do. It's what they know that they should do. They just need help thinking it through. And so that's really what I've done my whole life, in not in a business capacity, but just that's the way it was. So pandemic hits, and I think a lot of us had some pause. And I said, this is something that I'm very passionate about. And that's when I'm lit up, really. And so in, I think it was February of 2021, I said, I'm going to do this. So I got my certification in life coaching, and I was working as an executive and had my business very part-time. So I had a business coach and did all the things, set up my company. And in October of 2022, last year, stars aligned, and I left my corporate job to pursue my business and my passion full time. And I just haven't looked back. Some of the things that really drew me to my specific clientele, which is women determining the direction of their lives, is because I was there too, right? We're all so busy. There's so many expectations of us. We are conditioned by society and our culture and friends, family, religion, whatever. And we come to a realization, we have one life. This is the one chance we get. Mm-hmm. And I feel so passionately, and my mantra and one of my logos is "you decide." Because if you go through life just kind of letting it happen, okay, if that's your choice, that's fine, you're deciding. But there's so many things that you want to make sure you're really living the life that you desire. So I want my clients, and I want as many women as possible to live a life of no regrets. And so that's where I'm at. That's how I work with my clients. And so my framework is reset, reimagine, and reemerge. And the reset piece is so beautiful and so important, because it's rare that as busy professional women, we take a step back at a point in our life and say, hey, who am I? Right? Because as we go through our lives, we're, like I said, we're busy, we're doing things, we're conditioned, we're all this. And it's like taking a step back and looking and saying, who is Julie version 2023? What is important to me? And as an aside, I coach myself all the time because I'm at a point in my life where all of these things that are on my vision board, they're evolving. And I'm like, I want a little bit more nature and a little bit more adventure and a little bit more of this, which people are like, you want what? You're like, you don't get your hands dirty. I'm like, no, I'm ready. I'm going hiking. So it's important for us to take that step back and really evaluate what's important in my career, what's important in my faith, what's important in my family, what's most important, and what does that look like? That is the magic.
I love that. I love the mantra, your hashtag, whatever you want to call it, you decide. I think that's awesome because it's absolutely true. And I think sometimes we forget. As nurses, as mothers, as just, folks out in the business world, whatever job that we're doing, we're moving so quickly and we forget to reflect. We forget to think about the things that we're grateful for. It's just, you're right. It is a beautiful thing, but I think we just need to be reminded.
Yes.
Right.
It's not, I love use like the word simple versus easy. Like it's not always easy to do that reflection, but it's simple. It doesn't cost any money. It doesn't take too much time. You don't have to call in a troop to help you with it. It's something you just have to carve some time out, take some deep breaths, meditate a little, and then sit and go, what is it for me? And I have tools that I provide my clients to help them think through those things, because for some reason, it's for some people that core values review is a daunting experience. And I'm like, listen, there are no rules. There's no wrong answer. It's a matter of just, looking inside. And
So let's talk a little bit about, you talked about reset, really reflecting, taking the time to figure it out, just kind of, well, maybe not totally figure it out, but just taking a step back, take some deep breaths and really, like you said, just reset, right? So talk about the reimagine and your reemerging as well. So take us through that journey.
So reimagine, all three kind of phases are so juicy, and I just love them all for what they are. But so the reimagine, this is where there's some mental checking in that has to happen for reimagine, because we are conditioned and we are surrounded by expectation and rules and all these narratives. And the reimagine is really first saying, okay, what is it that I really desire for my next chapter? I talk a lot about being the author of your next chapter, because the next chapter is getting written and you decide if you're the one with hands on keyboard or pencil in hand. Otherwise, somebody else is going to come in and write it for you. So if you're on my social media, you'll see I always have a red typewriter in a lot of my visuals, because it's like you write that chapter. And so with reimagine, it's what do you want your future to look like? What do you desire? And for some people, it's okay, I'm ready to get to the next level of my career. So I want to work on my executive presence and I want to work on X, Y, and Z. For some people, it's, I've worked so hard my whole entire life, and now I'm ready to sit in my garden and have a cup of coffee. And it's whatever it is. Like, I don't look to my clients to say, hey, you need to be doing more and better and harder. And no, this is about what is it for you? So the reimagine is, wow, can I imagine working only 2 days a week? Because that's where I'd like to be at this point in my life. Is it what I imagine is, I'm going on 5 vacations a year, whatever. I'm just there to hold space so that my clients can figure out what that is and make sure that they understand they already have permission to dream big. They already have the permission. I don't give it to them, but it's like, so how do we pull back that curtain and say those rules that we thought were there and those narratives that are there, they're false. It's not true. So now with that knowledge, where do we go? And I talk and teach a lot about law of attraction and manifestation, because we are all energy and the universe is a beautiful, infinite Amazon warehouse. And we just need to identify what it is that we want. And I'm not talking just material, but what is it that we desire in our lives? We put it in the cart and we hit place order. Like that's the thing, right? So we use our imagination a lot. We do vision boards. We think outside the box and then also identify what are some limiting beliefs that we may have that we need to work through. Because sometimes we are our own worst enemy because we think, oh, well, I don't deserve that. Or, that's not for me, or I'm not smart enough. Well, we need to look at those narratives and identify, are those really true? Or is it something that we were told or something that we just hold on to? So that's the reimagine. What does this look like next?
Yeah. And, I feel like I have these conversations with people often. I mean, not to the depth that you would, but I feel like there's so many times where even myself, you're either telling yourself a story, where most of this stuff comes from, or you say, oh, well, I'm just a nurse, or I'm just this, and you're not giving yourself enough credit, or even enough credit to say, you know what, I do deserve this.
Mhm.
And I need to take it and move forward and be confident in my life. So yeah, I find that people just don't give themselves the credit to move on.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the permission, like when you
Yes.
talked about giving permission, you don't think of that because people hold themselves back.
Mhm.
And sometimes I guess, I mean, the first time I ever heard that, I thought it sounded a little funny. Like, why would anybody have to give me permission to live my own life? But it works.
Right. Yes. And I talk a lot about that. And then that leads to the reemerge piece, which is, you already have permission. And so now it's a matter of taking that action. And this is where I talk a lot about messy action. It's one of my favorite things because if we wait for all conditions to be perfect to move forward, we're never moving forward. That's the way life is. So having, being able to identify that there is some doubt in what you want next, there is some fear in what you want next, and also go for it. Don't wait till you're ready. Take some messy action. The more action you take, the more confidence you gain. So just take the first step and moving on, and then the other thing in reemerge is really about what's that action plan? Because, okay, we're all nurses, right? Or in the healthcare. We always have to have an action plan, whether it's how we're providing care at the bedside or what our informatics project looks like, or what we always have to have an action plan. Same thing with our lives. We can manifest, we can dream, we can imagine, we can make a vision board, but unless we have a plan and we're taking action, none of it's going to happen. So we work on action plan. There's a ton of accountability built in and celebration, because we're not very good at that either, right? As women, as professionals, as moms, as nurses, as all that, we are just like, okay, we did this and we did it great. High five, gotta go. Next thing. We need to take that step back and celebrate and high five and say, look at this, man. This is a journey. It's not a destination. And milestone 1, killed it. So fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, am I staying on course? Is this still the way I want to go? Or do I want to move a little bit this way or that way? Like that's that intentional action that comes in that reemerge. And that's really where that butterfly is coming out of the chrysalis and is like, I'm ready to fly. And that's, it's beautiful.
It is. And I also love your, the reference to the butterfly coming out of the chrysalis, because it does feel like that sometimes, every once in a while you have an epiphany and you say, wow, that was great, and now every time that happens, I think of that because you say that all the time, the butterfly emerging.
The cautionary tale, or like just the bit of information, because it's not always, sunshine and butterflies, is that when the caterpillar is in that chrysalis, when it's in there and it's making the transformation, it is uncomfortable. It is tight. There's a lot of friction. There's all this stuff. So when you're transforming in your life and you're getting to the next step in whatever it is that you're looking for, it's uncharted territory for you. So it's uncomfortable. So it's important to identify and be aware that you are going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to want to revert back to previous, because even though that might not be exactly what you desire, and it might not be the best and your most potential, it is comfortable. So just remember, when you're uncomfortable, that's you in that chrysalis, all that friction. And I suggest you go to YouTube and look it up and see what it looks like when it's really quite turbulence. And then when the butterfly comes out, it's like, okay, now I'm ready to go. So yeah, just remember that too. If you're going through that transformation, there's a period of discomfort, and it's meant to be there.
Well, it certainly is uncomfortable for sure. So I guess that kind of leads into how we are understanding ourselves and thinking about what you call core values and how we can kind of center ourselves. So we're talking about reset, reimagine, reemerging. We're working on our beautiful butterfly spots coming out, but there's a lot of reflection that goes into that turbulent time in the chrysalis where you're understanding what your core values are. So talk a little bit about that understanding, and then also how do we even identify them? So we're thinking about all of this, and we just have so much going on. That's a lot of reflection, right? So you're asking us to do a lot of work, Julie.
I know. The cool thing is, like for my clients, is this is a journey hand in hand. This is a partnership and a journey. So it's not like, oh, go do this and like call me in a couple weeks. This is very much a partnership. But that's a great question, because like I said, even though it's simple to sit down and reflect on your core values, it's not always easy. So some of the things that I talk my clients through is thinking about when do I feel really good? What is going on when, like, just reflect. When I feel really good and I feel like I'm in my zone of genius, or my heart is happy, what am I doing? Journal that, right? Is it when you're in your garden? Is it when you're in a boardroom in front of 100 people? Is it when you are sitting on the couch watching a documentary with your significant other? Like, where is it that your heart is most happy and you feel like you're in your zone? Journal that out. Then also think about, who do you admire most? Who are people that you just think to yourself, wow, they're just a really incredible person? And you're doing that not to compare. You're doing that to like tease out, like, what is it about that person? Maybe they just have like an unbelievable amount of integrity and are just very forthcoming, or great communication skills. What is the thing? What things do you stand for? What thing would you go to bat for? Whether it's a person or some kind of a nonprofit or whatever, like really thinking through. And that's why I have that a sheet, a PDF, and I can send it to you if you want to provide it to the audience. And just as you go through these questions that are really thought provoking, and then you take a step back and you look at what you've written, what your responses are, and it kind of comes together for you. You see trends and patterns that you might not have even known were there. It's pockets of this and pockets of this. And you're like, wow. And also, some people might come to the table and go, I know exactly what's important to me. It's my family, it's my health, it's my this, and this. And so then I challenge them to say, excellent. Tell me what that means. What does healthy mean to you right now in your life? Because what health at 24 is and what health at 64 is are usually two very different things. What does family as a core value mean for you right now? Well, 15 years ago, it was making sure that I got my kids to soccer practice on time and that we had dinner twice a week together because everybody's so busy. And now it's my children are in college. So now what family time is very different. So it's not only what are the core values, but what's the context around those core values so that you're crystal clear. And once you have those, then you have your guiding principles, which we always love, right? In our projects, what are our guiding principles and that's your compass and your true north. So when you have decisions to make, you have your core values to look at and say, is this aligned or is it not? And then when you do make that decision, you've made it with clarity and you have so much more conviction in what your next action is.
While you were talking, I was thinking about, and I think I shared this with you before, I was thinking about the leadership course that I was in. recently within the past year. And we actually had these cards that were called core value. They were little cards, just regular, they almost look like index cards. They were laminated and had, things like faith and health and all of these different values that were listed on there. And it went everything from personal to business to, the gamut, anything that you could really think of as a big stack. And the challenge was to use these cards, go through every card and put out all the ones that were most important to you. And then the challenge was to narrow it down. And they would say, narrow it down to 10. Now narrow it down to 5. And you really had to think hard about what was the most important. They're all important. It's like saying everything is urgent, right? Everything's stat. Well, if everything's stat, then nothing is, because what do you do first? But yeah, that's what it brought that to mind when I had to go through that exercise. And it's exactly right. You need to narrow it down so that everything isn't important at the moment. You need to really think about what's your priority.
Exactly. And that's it. What's the priority? And, it's funny. I think it was on a podcast or something I was listening to where they're talking about the fact that the word priority, where its origin did not have a plural. Because like you said, if everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. So how do we have this concept of priorities?
I never thought about that.
I thought that was fantastic. I was like, well, yeah, no kidding. It shouldn't be plural, but hey, here we are.
Wow. You learn something new every day. And I never thought about that before. You're absolutely right. So, along with your core values and you're thinking about yourself, we're reflecting, we're working on ourselves. We also have those things that hold us back. We have those things that we beat ourselves up with because we're so good at that.
Right.
Telling ourselves stories and not letting ourselves go. So let's talk a little bit about those limiting beliefs. How do we identify some of those things and how do we help ourselves to stop doing that?
There is again, simple, but not necessarily easy, is the key is awareness. Almost everyone has limiting beliefs. Almost everyone has a mean girl in their head that's telling them things that are just not kind. So crushing it is not really the best option because we have to acknowledge that it's there, that those limiting beliefs are there, that this mean voice potentially is on our head being unkind. And so it's the first step is just listen, be open to it. If your goal is to do something, to move forward in one direction in some area of your life, and you're not doing it, listen. What are you telling yourself? What is the story you're telling yourself? So, okay, and it might be something you have to work on at that point, right? Identify like, okay, I was told or I was brought up that money is the root of all evil and it's horrible and it's this and that. Well, so if you are up for a promotion that has a great salary increase, you could potentially even sabotage yourself because you're like, well, but that's a lot of money. And no one in my family has ever made that much money. And what are they going to think? And what's it going to look like? And if money's the root of all evil, then, oh my gosh, well, then having that amount of money is not correct. Identifying that you have that belief is the first step, because then you can do work on it and you can realize, is that true? Is it really true? Or is it a story I'm telling myself? Is it something that I'm conditioned? When we're in our childhood and our teens and our early 20s, we're so open to all the information that's coming to us because we don't have a baseline for it. So we're being fed this information, and it is not by any negative intention by our family, friends, communities, whatever. It's whatever the times we're living in. And so now we have a responsibility as adult women to create our own narrative and say, no, that's ridiculous. Money is money. It's just something. And there's actual abundance in this entire universe. So enough of that. And then you can move forward with kicking butt on that job interview so that you can get that. So it's really awareness. And, forgiveness a little bit too. Like, we have to forgive ourselves. Like, yeah, I used to think that, but I don't anymore. So give yourself a pat on the back and move forward. Keep moving forward. So it's a lot of that awareness, identification, and just reflection.
Well, Julie, I think you've given us so much to think about. And I know that we have you for a series, so we will have you a few more times. All of this stuff, I think we definitely need to, again, I keep going back to the whole reflect word. That's a big one for me. Just making sure that I'm in check, because, there are some of us who are more aware of ourselves than others, but it really is all the same work. So I'm going to say, let's take a break. We're going to think about all of this stuff and can't wait to hear about the next phase, and really get into it a little bit deeper. So thank you so much, Julie, for joining us.
It's wonderful. I hope this was helpful.
Oh, most definitely. I'll be interested to what the audience is thinking.
Yes.
All right. Thanks so much, Julie. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you'll join us again for another session of Informatically Speaking.
This has been a production of the Greater Delaware Valley chapter of the American Nursing Informatics Association. For more information about the GDV-ANIA chapter, visit us at community.ania.org/Greater Delaware Valley/home.